Welcome back to the channel as we're finally at the end of my prospect rankings, going over the receivers today, and you're going to be getting a top 15. But if you want to see my full receiver rankings or my full prospect rankings, big board and such, check out the Patreon. Link for that is in the description. Gives you access to my nice Google spreadsheet where I have full evals. It's got pro day combine numbers as well as important analytics. It's a great way to support the channel. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. I'll have a big board video for y'all later this week, and on top of that, I have a very fun mock draft coming out later this week with a very special guest. But let's go ahead, get into this sucker. At number 15, we have Tyler Scott from Cincinnati. He was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2020 class, and he actually played a variety of different positions in high school, mainly to say running back, because you will notice this guy has a very strong lower body. He was on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list for squatting 600 pounds. My gosh, that's a lot. On top of that, he could also bench a lot, 15 on 225. Not half bad for a bit of an undersized receiver, just slightly below that sub 180. So it's like, it's a wee bit too small, but it's fine. This guy's blazing fast, as you saw, the 4.39 40. I believe that was at the combine, if not, it was pro day, one of the two. But this dude is an extremely good downfield threat, literally can tear the top off of defenses. He separates out of his cuts like nobody's business. Very explosive. You can tell from the explosion drills, having seen what he did in the vert and the broad, and like very much like this guy could get to the top of a route tree and just go. And I don't really think that I think he could probably play on the outside. He basically played on the outside the last 2 years for Cincinnati, so I don't think that it's going to be that big of a problem for him. And on top of that, he brings a lot of return experience, at least from high school. So I do like that. I do like the way he high points the football as well. However, not the greatest ball skills. Like, he can get to the catch point, but can he finish it? Well, 11% drop rate this past season. Not the best hands in this class, but to be fair, this class, in terms of their hands, they hover around that 10% drop rate quite a bit in this class. He did run a limited route tree, mainly a vertical route tree there at Cincinnati, and when he does go to more complex routes, it kind of shows in his route running ability. He might lack the ideal girth to play on the outside, but I truly believe he can. He's done it there at the collegiate level, and I think that's kind of where you want him to be, though. You could sneak him into the slot, but again, if you do that, you're still doing it solely as a vertical receiver, kind of like a Quez Watkins. So I got the comp as Marquise Goodwin, one of my favorite receivers in the league. Just an all-around great guy. But let's go ahead to number 14, being Jaden Reed out of Michigan State, coming in at 5'11", 187, former 3-star recruit out of the 2018 class. He actually originally came from Western Michigan, did that for a season, and was like, all right, let's take this to a Power 5 school. Looked really good in 2021, and they lost some talent there at Michigan State, and it kind of showed. The quarterback play wasn't nearly as good, even though it was the same quarterback. It just, the targets weren't great this past season. He also dealt with a little bit of injury that cost him a few games. But this dude's a flat-out competitor, man. He's got that dog in him. You could see that at the catch point, as a 65% contested catch rate. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good for not a smaller receiver, but a receiver that is not like 6'2", 6'3". You know, not a taller guy. Very light on his feet. This dude showed at the Senior Bowl that he could win off press. He doesn't necessarily have to get physical. He could get guys missing with what he can do with his feet. So you like to see that. He's a great route runner, ran a full route tree there at Michigan State. And he does bring some return skills to this nice little package that he is. However, like, kind of the biggest, like, I think the biggest knock on him is, like, he does a lot of things well, but there is really no, like, trump card, no calling card that he has. When he is faced with physicality, or guys are able to connect with him at the at the line of scrimmage or even during the route. Vastly different player, not nearly as good as a route runner in that regard. He really struggles when facing physicality, limited catch radius, only a 73-inch wingspan, lots of drops, also in traffic. So like going over the middle of the field, if he feels a guy coming, then he might get antsy hands. Had an 8% drop rate this past year. Just something to kind of note. I have him as a moving receiver, so a guy that you can kind of move inside and out. Greg Ward was actually a pretty good size comp in terms of how he's going to probably be utilized as this guy that can do it in the return game and can kind of be a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for your club. But big fan, got him at 130 on my big board. On to number 13. Rashee Rice out of SMU. Man, this guy's going to be all over the place on some people's big boards, depending on how you feel about him. He's just outside of my top 100. Some people absolutely love him, as like a few months ago we saw him get the first round love. A lot of people still firmly behind that he's a day 2 guy. I kind of like him at the back end, a day 2. But it kind of depends if the guys ahead of him on my board are gone. But woof. So let's talk about Rashee Rice here, because there kind of is a lot to talk about. Because I think this dude's a competitor, man. He's hard to bring down after the catch. Had 18 forced missed tackles this year. 19. Hard to bring down after the catch. He shows good ball skills with just in terms of being a ball carrier. He knows how to shift gears throughout the route, so there's a little nuance in his route running. However, the big problem is this is a guy that just struggles to separate. He's just not that sudden. He's not that crafty with his feet, and it kind of looks like he wants to take on contact. And he just struggles to get that separation. A lot of people are like, oh, he ran that 4.51. Okay, that's going to alleviate a lot of concerns. Like, you go back to Senior Bowl, it's like, nah, this guy on one-on-one, man, he's struggling to separate. That's kind of the big hiccup I have with him. Also, ran a more simplistic route tree at SMU, but I'm not too worried about that. His hands can be inconsistent, 8.3% drop rate over the course of his career. Some of that was focus drops, some of that was just in traffic, and just more tough grabs, tough snags. So it's like, it is something to kind of like, if this guy's going to struggle to separate at the next level, then will he be able to do that in the NFL, where things are going to be a lot more tight, a lot more snug? However, I do like how this guy, what he can do after the catch. I like the body control he has. He had to adjust to a lot of off-target throws this past season. I think more so than anybody in this group. But I kind of like him as a slot guy, with my concerns of him struggling to just get off a press and to just separate. Maybe having him in motion, or just put him in the slot where he kind of gets a little bit of more space. I think that might be a bit more ideal where he should be. So I kind of he's gonna be an interesting one for some people. Either you're gonna love him or you're not gonna love him. Like Alex from Hail Mary Sports, not a big fan of Rashee Rice. But let's go ahead to number 12, Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. You're going to look at that comp, be like, oh man, that comp would have been a lot sexier a year ago. Yeah, it would have. And I really think Mingo could have a bit of the concerns that we've seen from Chase Claypool. But let's get into Mingo in general, because honestly, he's never really, like, this was the first year he had more than, I believe, 500 yards in a season. So good for him. Part of that was like, yeah, he suffered some injuries over the course of his career. It is worth noting that 2 of them were foot injuries, so maybe something to keep tabs on going forward. But he's got great size, 6'2", 220. His test numbers were great, 4.46, 22 in the bench. Good. You're a big receiver, you should be strong. Then the explosive numbers were really good. You love the hand size. Just a great combination of size and speed. He's got a nice strong build. I think he shows a little bit of suddenness at the top of routes. Solid route runner, honestly, from the outside and to the slot. However, he's just been very inconsistent over his career, especially with his hands over the course of his career. 12.7 drop rate is not good. It just isn't. He doesn't always play the ball well in air, so the tracking isn't always on point. Doesn't necessarily put himself in great position to make an attempt on a ball in a contested catch scenario. Doesn't really have sometimes you'll see he doesn't really have that sideline awareness of where his feet are going to come down. So something just to kind of note there. Could probably get better at how he uses his hands to free himself from press. I see a lot of people when they talk about him, it's like, we don't know if he can work against press. I'm like, this dude just benched 22 on 225 pounds. He's strong. He just needs a little bit more technique in that regard. I think he could be a versatile receiver. So it's like a guy we saw with Claypool, where tested out real well, but his collegiate production wasn't all that great. So like Mingo, we could see him maybe start hot his rookie season, but he's really got to find his place there in the NFL. Whether is he going to be this guy we can move around? Is he just going to stick on the outside? Maybe is he just going to be like a big slot? That's going to be the question. Is Claypool's kind of in that same situation where it's like now he's just no longer really producing. Especially, you could even say before that trade to the Bears, like this season for the Steelers, he really wasn't doing much of anything. So I kind of like that comp for Mingo. I got him inside my top 100 at 88 on my big board. So you see that nice 20 spot difference between Rice and then Mingo. And then we're actually going to just go up one spot on my big board to 87 to A.T. Perry out of Wake Forest, coming in at 6'4", 198, and honestly probably should add a little bit more mass, man. He's very long, 33.25-inch arms, so like adding a little bit more mass I think would go a long way for him, because honestly like the tested numbers are really good. I like that at that height, at that size, bigger receiver running 4.47. I don't think it hurts to put on a little bit more muscle. Dude's got a huge catch radius, 82 inches on the wingspan. Very powerful hands, helps him create separation. Also helps him make some of those highlight reel catches, those just snags from air. Great build-up speed on vertical routes, as you can see, man, like the 4.47 number. However, he's had a bit of inconsistency throughout his career, and you'd be like, oh, he's coming off like back-to-back 1,000-yard years. It's like, yeah, but like the drops, this past year, 9% drop rate. It's like, okay, and I think there's like cases where it's like this dude sometimes has the most high-end reps you'll see. It's like, oh man, this guy for a bigger receiver shows some shimmy during the route run, and then there's other times where it's just like he looks like he's dragging his feet. There's just too many inconsistencies when it comes to what he brings to the table. Too many inconsistencies with his route runner, and you could make an effort argument there when it comes to just securing the ball consistently. You can make also an argument there. So it's like those are a few of the concerns you have with them. The change of directions, nothing special, and honestly, I mean, we could go back to the effort thing, because there's times he just doesn't extend his arms and attack the catch point consistently. Like 44 is an alright, 44%, it's an alright contested catch number, but for a guy his size you expect a little bit more stank on that. You really do. I think Devontae Parker's actually a really good comp for him, as they measure out very similarly, or at least they're testing and whatnot, and it could be something that we might expect at the NFL level. That's why I'm kind of like with Perry and Mingo, I'm kind of like this, you know. There's you can see a little bit of the bad and a little bit of the good. So those are kind of like my big receivers where I'm like, I've seen the it from them. I've seen that it factor. I just want to see it a bit more consistently. On to number 10, we got my boy Marvin Mims Jr. out of Oklahoma. This is one of my favorite receivers in the draft. I was very high coming on him early into the season. And he had a solid year, went for over 1,000 yards, and 5'11", 183, tested out real fast, tested out real explosive. I just think he's kind of missing a little bit of either the suddenness or the footwork that we see from like Tank Dell or Josh Downs to really get like fitted in or slotted in with that group. I don't think he's as nearly as smooth as a route runner as a guy like Jordan Addison is, which is why I kind of have him in this area. I think he's a very smooth mover. I think he adjusts well to the pass while it's in air. Very sure-handed. 5% drop rate over the course of his career. He's been a proven deep threat as over the course of his career, average depth of target 16.7, and he can be a very savvy route runner. However, there are times where you look at it and it's like those routes could be a bit more tighter, a bit more cleaner, a bit more crisper, you know? So there's that. He kind of lacks the after the catch ability. Like, he goes down fairly easy. He's more of a try to make you miss, but if someone breathes on him, he might go down. And I think it would go a long way if he adds a little bit muscle to that frame. The stop-start ability, I think it's okay. Again, another reason you look at guys like Tank Dell, like Josh Downs, and you're like, you know, I'd probably rather those guys than Mims. And that's not taking anything away from him. I still think very highly of him. I kind of got a third-round grade on him, so that says a lot. Big fan of Mims. On to number 9, I have Michael Wilson out of Stanford, former 4-star recruit out of the 2018 class. He saw a little action his freshman season. It actually became a starter by the end of the year. He had a breakout year in 2019, but he really couldn't build off of that because of the shortened year in 2020 there in the Pac-12, where they played like all of maybe 4 to 6 games. And then since then, 2020, he missed, or 2021, he ended up missing like 6 or 7 games. This year, he missed 6 games. Overall, he's missed like 13 games over the past 2 seasons. So kind of injury. Like, injuries really cost him a lot over the past couple of years, which is why he was kind of this dark horse coming into the Senior Bowl, where people were like, man, he's kind of a strange guy to get a Senior Bowl invite. But then you see him on the field and it's like, oh my gosh, like this guy could be like a prototypical X wide receiver at 6'2", 213, because he's got a great release package. He's very sudden off of the line of scrimmage and very sudden out of his breaks. Powerful receiver. He's able to sack corners. He's hard to bring down after the catch, as he's actually been pretty solid in terms of his forced missed tackles over his career. It's just the injuries were a big issue. Also, you take a look at the drops. 8% drop rate over the course of his career. Last year was 12.9. So a lot of those drops in traffic or focus drops. So you can kind of fix focus drops with those drops in traffic, man. It's like, ooh, either you have that bite down hard and be ready to take a hit, but you're going to secure this catch in you, or you kind of don't. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Lacks high-end speed, but he's a bigger receiver. I don't think he necessarily needs it. I have Pierre Garçon as the comp. Pierre Garçon was obviously a bit faster. I think he ran like a 4.44, but I think they're going to be asked to do very similar things. They actually measure out very similar as well, but I got him here at number 9. At number 8, and I think he's what? Is he one? No, he's a full 8 spots ahead of Michael Wilson. It's Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee, coming in at 6'3", 213, and it kind of sucks. He was limited this year because of the ankle, and a lot of people kind of forgot about him, myself included. Though, to be fair, coming into the season, I wasn't exactly super high on him. I think he was like just outside of my top 10, I do believe, because I kind of see him as just he's a contested catch receiver, jump ball guy maybe on the outside, but I mean, he's got strong hands. He's very good at doing that role. It's just how much do you value that? He's got a pretty big catch radius, big hands. He'll go up and just get it. Stacks cornerbacks well, and he shows good body control. He's unfazed by traffic. He's unfazed by contact while making the catch. And like he's been pretty good. Like you go back to 2021, because I mean honestly you have to go back to the 2021 tape to really get a great feel of what he can do over the course of the year. 13 of 18 on contested catch opportunities. Like, so that's pretty darn good. He's got actually a pretty solid stiff arm, and like kind of like my biggest thing is, man, he relies a bit too much on physicality to separate. If he can't win with that physicality, then he's going to be put into that contested catch situation, where this year he wasn't nearly as good as he was in 2021. He only was 43% contested catch rate this past year. He's not a very dynamic athlete, kind of lacks suddenness, lacks quicks, ran a limited route tree. Tennessee, as we've kind of talked about how gimmicky Tennessee's offense was this year and how untranslatable it is to today's NFL. And he's just not going to be a guy that can really create after the catch. Like, he's got size, but he's not exactly terribly hard to bring down. But I think he could be a good vertical X wide receiver at the next level. Could be a good like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 when he gets there. And I got him at 59. Zach Pascal, I know a lot of people are going to be like, but I mean, I think the comp's kind of accurate. I really do. Really do. Watched a little bit of Zach Pascal back in the day, man, when he was at ODU. So, saying, I had flashbacks watching Tillman's tape. Number 7, I got Tank Dell out of Houston, one of my favorite prospects in this class. And let's talk about his journey here, because it's a very nice one. So he was a 3-star recruit from the 2018 class, decided to go to Alabama A&M, where he redshirted his first season because of injury. He saw minimal playing time in 2018 and decided to transfer to Independence Community College, which was featured in Last Chance U, but that was the season before Tank Dell arrived. During that year, he went for 52 receptions, 766 yards, 8 tutties. He then decided to go to Houston, where he was awesome. Great last 2 seasons there. I know you're looking, the size sucks. He's instantly one of the lightest guys at the receiver position in the NFL at 5'8", 165, but honestly his catch radius is pretty big for a guy that lacks that much size at 30.5 inch arm length. So it's like, what's his wingspan? 72 and a quarter. So it's like, honestly, it's not that bad. You look at a guy like Zay Flowers, who has literally the same amount of wingspan. So I'm not too worried about that. Very quick feet. I love how quick this guy is with his feet. He's tough to keep up with on the route tree. A very good stop-start ability. Great release for his size. A guy that worked both inside and out there at Houston. Legitimate separator. A guy that made guys miss. And I'm just an absolute fan of this dude, man. I think he's an absolute dog. Now, there are a ton of easy drops, like catchable balls, just where just lets the ball, he just doesn't secure the catch. 9% drop rate between 2021 and 2022. It was a little high in 2021, I believe it was closer to that 10. This year was 8.5. So it's, yeah, basically not the most secure hands. There are times where you saw this a little bit at Houston, where he got a little kind of overdid the moves a bit during routes, trying to be too good of a salesman, where it was like, okay, I'm not biting on this, and kind of throws off the timing of plays. But I mean, you go to the Senior Bowl, where it was like, okay, go run this route, get open, and he was very much to the point. Still did a good job of selling those routes. I think Darnell Mooney, you look at another undersized receiver, and I think Tank Dell could do it. Like, legit, guys, I have not been high on undersized receivers. I wasn't high on D. Eskridge. I wasn't high on Tutu Atwell. I largely looked at those guys as day 3 players. Tank Dell's different for me, man. I really do. A guy with this good of footwork, I think, will work in the NFL. That is wholeheartedly what I believe. And then number 6, we got Jalin Hyatt out of Tennessee. I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with Hyatt. 6 foot, 184, ran a 4.440. That's right. This guy, he can run and he can run fast. Blazing speed. As a father, I've been watching a lot of Blaze and the Monster Machines, and the big quote in that show is "Let's Blaze." And Jalin Hyatt's like, "Let's Blaze," because this dude legitimately is tough to keep up with on vertical routes. He tracks the ball very well downfield. Sure hands. Won the Blicknikoff this year. Banger season. 15 tutties, over 1,200 yards. You love to see it. You really do. However, I really want to see better yak ability from a guy that's honestly this fast, this explosive. Like he's not that great. He's a guy that's like, I will run by you, but he won't make you miss, man. The stop-start ability, honestly, not as good as you would anticipate. I mean, just look at the agility drills. Those are fine numbers, but those aren't the numbers you'd expect from a guy that you think could be this someone that could just create after the catch. No, he can create after the catch if there's no one in front of him. He's an air yard type of guy. That's just who he is. He got better with physicality during the route. However, I think it's still a ways to go, especially versus press. And I really do think that he is probably going to have to be a slot guy in the NFL. I think he's going to be a vertical slot option. Over 88% of his career snaps came in the slot. I mean, it just kind of is what it is. This past year was 87. I honestly think that's where he's going to have to win. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at that Quez Watkins comp, but I honestly kind of think that's the role you expect from a guy like Wyatt in the NFL. You just kind of hope that the ceiling on that's a bit more. So again, when you look at comps, don't think this is like, I look at like Watkins and I think that's exactly the type of player they're going to be in the NFL. No, I think they can maybe get to the top of those guys' ceilings. So a little bit different in that regard. On to number 5, I got Josh Downs out of North Carolina, one of my favorite guys in this class, honestly. 5'9", 171. Yeah, he's pretty undersized. This is a guy that's not going to be that good of a run blocking wide receiver, but that's all cool. You're not really getting him for that. This dude's a twitched up athlete, incredible feet. You go back to his tape, like the route run is just so good. He's such a salesman. You get guys to buy into fakes, whether it's like shoulder fakes, head fakes, and whatnot, and or false steps. Like, he could get guys to buy into that. His contested catch rate was really good this past year, 72.2% for a smaller receiver. He can catch it in traffic. I absolutely love it. Akila loves it. You hear her going nuts for it. Absolutely. But I do think he's more of a high-end slot in the NFL. 89% of his snaps came out of the slot. Even Gojo loves it. Admittedly, I did think he would test out faster in the 4.48. Not the end all be all. He's at 41 on my big board. I think he has high end slot potential. Big fan of Downs. Let's go ahead to number 4, Jordan Addison out of USC. Coming in at 5'11", 173. So he's been undersized. Former 4-star recruit from the 2020 class. Did see significant playing time his freshman year then, and this was at Pittsburgh. Ended up winning the Blicknikoff in 2021 at Pittsburgh. Transferred to USC for a multitude of reasons, and didn't have the same year, but it was still a productive year. It was kind of cut short because of a trying to think. Well, it was a lower leg injury. I can't remember if it was ankle or whatnot, but you do wish the testing was faster. Admittedly, 4.49. I was hoping he would test much faster than that. Didn't get a chance at the USC Pro Day because of just the uber amounts of rain. Couldn't rerun that. But I mean, the dude's got really good tape. He really, really does. You do wish he could add more muscle because he does get bodied easily. A lot of his production over the last few years have been schemed. A lot of screens in that. But he has gone out and ran real routes. Like, this dude's filthy route runner, man. He does a good job of fluctuating his gears during the route, and just one of the best route runners in this class. Just look at what Steve Smith has to say about Addison. He's a huge fan. He did struggle with drops back at Pittsburgh. That wasn't an issue this year, but he didn't see nearly the same amount of volume at USC as he did at Pittsburgh. But dude has a slick release package, and honestly, big fan. Dude can create after the catch. He is very hard to put a hand on. Just a very fluid athlete in general. Tyler Lockett feels like a real good comp for him. At number 3, we got Zay Flowers out of Boston College. And admittedly, I wasn't the biggest fan of Zay Flowers coming into this season. I thought a lot of his production was schemed up. I thought he was naturally just going to be a slot guy, because we really only saw him do vertical routes in 2021 while on the outside. And when he was in the slot, it was all schemed up screens, jet sweeps and such. But 2022, I would say, was a bit more eye-opener for me, man. The dude's got legit quicks, 4.42, 40. The dude is fast. He's got good yak ability, 15 forced missed tackles this past year. Does a good job avoiding contact early in the route. He runs his routes fast, tight, smooth, very sudden feet. Can create after the catch and can tear the top off of defenses. You really like that. However, he does lack ideal size, ideal length. The ball skills have kind of been hit or miss with him coming into this, or at least this season. 10% drop rate. That's kind of a theme with this class. Is I mean, to be fair, like Downs, really secure with the football, really good, just really good at catching the ball. But the other guys in this class, we go to Mingo, we go to guys like Michael Wilson, even Hyatt, not this year, but the prior year. Like, they've struggled with drops. So that's just kind of a theme that's going to be in this class, is ball skills. Didn't run the complete route tree, but I think that's fine. He again, 2022 ran vast. He definitely increased that route tree. He could do a better job of being a salesman, so to speak, on routes and selling routes. As he tries to do more with his lower body, and like to see a little bit more like shoulder shakes, head shakes, and whatnot. As you can see, he tries a lot of false steps and whatnot. But I'm a big fan. I think he's this movable weapon that you could play on the outside and in the slot. Huge fan. A lot of people got a variety of different comps out there for him. The one I liked the most came from Mike Renner, and it was T.Y. Hilton. I thought that was pretty darn good. Number 2, I have Jaxon Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. Didn't have a great year because he was slowed down by a hamstring issue. Something that we really didn't get a lot of answers on. Was it like a soft tissue thing or whatnot? NFL teams are going to have more information on that than I am. So, again, it's kind of something I can't really judge him on right now. It could be something I'm hesitant about. But when it comes to Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the prospect, what we saw mainly in 2021, we saw this guy that consistently knew how to get open, great route runner, soft hands, sure hands, 5% drop rate in 2021. He was a yak machine, and he really showed a strong lower body. He was able to just endure hits and whatnot. Well, what was his 19 forced missed tackles in 2021? The dude was really good. The problem is, over the course of his career, 83% of his production or his snaps have came in the slot. I really do believe he is going to be a slot player at the next level. Like, he just lacks explosiveness. He's not a jump ball guy. He's just he doesn't have traits that would tell me that he can be a good player on the outside. Doesn't mean I don't think he can play on the outside, but I think he gets kind of like this Cooper Kupp share of where he's got like 65% of his snaps will probably come from the slot. And I think that's great. I think that's ideal. I'm fine with that. We've seen how fluid of an athlete he is with the agility drills. Like, they were literally heads and shoulders above anyone else in this class. Like, what he can do in the middle of the field and what he can do after, I think he can do that at elite level. I really do. Like, if you're looking for that final piece of your receiving core, like, Jaxon Smith-Njigba could be it. He could be that guy that takes your receiving group to the next level. He's like, I think he's going to be that good in that role. Like, dude, guys, Cooper Kupp, man, he got paid a lot of money after 2021 because of what he did from the slot. thinking JSN could be a similar thing. That's just my opinion, man. I'm a big fan of what he could potentially do. I think he's one of the better blocking receivers in this class, but this class does lack a lot of size, dare I say. But not number one here. Number one, Quentin Johnston out of TCU. I love Johnston. He's number 12 on my big board. I got him as a prototypical X wide receiver, former 4-star from the 2020 class. See, Gojo loves him too. Saw a bit of playing during his freshman year. Really, though, emerged in 2021. He led TCU in receiving yards and touchdowns. And then he came in this year. Basically, it was rinse and repeat, even though his numbers weren't as huge as maybe some of the other guys in this class. I think he did an exceptional job of. He's got a great combination of size, speed, explosiveness. 4'4", 840. Look at those explosive numbers. 40.5 in the vert, 132 inches in the broad. Those are great. Those are phenomenal. Huge catch radius. This cat's got 33.5-inch arms. You'd love to see it, man. It's like quarterbacks are gonna be like, oh man, it's like throwing to a garage door. That's how big the windows are when it comes to Quentin Johnston. He shows great after the catch ability for a bigger receiver. Like, this dude is actually really quick after he gets the ball. He's quick turning up field. Like, I love that. Like, I think he's a legit separator as well. Like, what was after the catch? 19 forced missed tackles this past season. You love to see it. Now let's talk about the bad. A lot of people are going to say lacks that physicality at the catch point, and I think that was very true this season. 11.8 drop rate is not good. I think a lot of those were focused drops, but the contested catch rate wasn't great. However, like, I go back to that 2021 Oklahoma game, and it's like he showed us that he has that dog in him to be this just giant at the catch point. It's just we haven't seen enough to really say, is that something he could do at the next level? Can he be consistent at that role? We just haven't seen it. A lot of those drops did come in traffic, and honestly, sometimes he plays high versus press. Plays with a high pad level, being a taller guy, 6'3", and you just don't want those guys to get under your pads that easily. Kind of a nitpick there. Ultimately, I really love this cat as a prospect. Reminds me a lot of Brandon Ayuk. A guy that was really good after the catch, had that good explosiveness. A lot of people like tabbed him as a maybe just this vertical receiver, or a guy you maybe throw the ball to off screens. Obviously, he's evolved into much more than that. I think Quentin Johnston gives me some of the same feels, so I really like that comp for him. Number one in this class for your boy Broshmo. We'll get to that big board later in the week, but that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing, and as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.